I've given myself a 20-minute slot. In those 20 minutes, I want to try and give you a flavour of what goes on at IIMS HQ, the type of work we're involved in. I don't think there'll be time for questions. If any of you have questions, please catch me at any point over the next day and a half or at dinner, whenever. Always happy to talk about anything we do. It's an interesting business. It really is a fascinating business. I've been here 20 months now, so I'm not the new kid on the block anymore. I'm the old hand now. It's been a really interesting time for me. I actually really love this job. It's funny when you go into a role, you're spun a yarn, aren't you, by people who say, oh, you know, it's full of problems, it's full of challenges, and it's all of those things. But you know what, underlying it all, I get a huge amount of pleasure out of doing this job. So much has happened, and I will tell you a little bit about some of the changes that have gone on in the Institute in the last 18, 20 months, because it's a completely different organisation to what it was when I joined. I make no apologies for that. It needed to change. We needed to move on. We've done that. There's been so many learnings for me, and I just wanted to pick two learnings, things that I've learned. I learned very early on that marine surveyors die in enclosed spaces. That worried me. In fact, it horrified me. Why in this day and age do marine surveyors die in enclosed spaces? It really troubled me. So much so that we've gone and written a book about it. More about that coming up later. I've also learned that when you get 10 marine surveyors in a room, you'll get 10 different opinions. And it's true. That's quite a challenge for somebody like me who comes from quite a structured business world. I've learned that tact and diplomacy are really important, actually. That's not a problem. I've got bags of that, and bags of charm. You know, I'll charm you all if I can. But tact and diplomacy is really important. I think what I've brought and helped to bring is a new commercial edge and a new commercial dynamism to the Institute. My background is in running businesses. I'm a commercial animal. I like to drive revenues. And all right, they need to be compatible with what we do as an institute, but I will always be looking for ways to enhance the lot of the Institute. I've really enjoyed meeting members. Many of you here today I've met several times now before, and forging new relationships. And I've been lucky enough to go to various places this year and meet lots of people in lots of places. So I welcome that opportunity. One of my strengths, I think, is to share news. I'm a bit of a news hound. I love current affairs. There's so much news now going on to the website. If you don't use it, you should. And new technologies. Bertrand picked up on this whole thing about new technologies. Some of the stories that have emerged this year about ghost ships I was reading the other day. How spooky are ghost ships? You know, ships that sail the sea with nobody on them. It's coming. So as marine surveyors, you're challenged. You're challenged with these things. How do you get the knowledge? How do you get the experience? I see our role very much to share it with you and to share best practice with you. A year ago, I could not have given you a mission statement or told you where I wanted us to go. I can now. Here's my vision. Effective provision of membership services. Sharing relevant knowledge and best practice with you all. Educating, training, and developing compatible commercial opportunities, and dedicated in everything we do to excellence in marine surveying. After our management board meeting yesterday, I can add one other thing to that list, and that is to cement IIMS into the heart of the maritime and marine world, which is very much now, I think, part of that vision. Last year was a year of consolidation. We had to make necessary changes. I make no apologies for that. We got rid of some really wonderful, lovely accountants who charged London prices for what's a small business, really. It didn't make commercial sense. You voted them in the new accountants in at the AGM last year. Thank you for doing that. We got rid of the accounting software because it was expensive. The website was costing us a lot of money to handle out of house. It was really expensive. We got rid of all those things. I promised to make some forecast savings. We more than made those forecast savings last year. The financial position that I walked into at the start of last year was parlous. It was not good. The position is stabilised. We actually made an operating profit last year. We'll make a bigger operating profit this year. Membership continues to grow. Jan came into my office the other day, Jan, the membership secretary, and she said, I've got 6 applications from China. All came in the same day. Wonderful. So, you know, membership is growing. We currently, Chris Kelly, I don't know where you are, you're in the room somewhere, there he is, who's the chairman of the Professional Assessment Committee, reported yesterday we have our largest number of full members ever in the Institute. So a lot of these type of institutes are struggling these days. Memberships are not growing. We're on an upward curve. This year has become a year of growth. And what I will try and do over the next few minutes is just to try and explain some of those areas that we're now starting to achieve some growth. We essentially have 4 core areas, I think, of our business. Morning, Chris. I was getting worried about you as you're on in 10 minutes. Nice to see you. We operate in the area of providing membership services and communications, obviously. We are a key educator and trainer. Our certifying authority under the guidance of Fraser Noble, who I saw come in, the chairman, and his committee, are a valuable source of income for us. And the Marine Surveying Academy, which is being run now by Hilary Axel. Those are our 4 core areas of business. I'm going to run very quickly through these 4 areas. Membership services and communications. We produce, I think, a rather nice monthly e-newsletter. About 50% of you open it, 50% don't. I can't force you to open it, but it's there for those who choose to open it. There's an example of one we put out earlier this year. The Report magazine has come on leaps and bounds. If you don't see the Report magazine in printed format, most of you don't, it's a really good magazine now. And what's changed is that we now go out and we commission articles for it, rather than just relying on information that was sent in to us. I'm now starting to commission articles from people. And I'm very grateful to those of you who take the time and trouble to, Uday, you always email me, to say, great magazine, great issue, and you tell me what you liked about it. So that feedback is really good. It is available online. If you don't read the magazine online, you should. We've got some copies here of back issues. Take them, please. We're not taking them back to Porchester tomorrow. They're far too heavy, so please take them with you. We launched a photo ID card this year. That's been popular for the feedback I've had. We've also, through NORAD Travel, launched a membership travel scheme. I used it to book a passage and saved a considerable sum of money, so for me it worked. The website is full of resources. For those of you who don't use the website regularly, shame on you, you should. It's there for your benefit. There's a bit more on the web coming up later. You may not know, for those of you who don't have a website or a website you're not happy with, we can offer a very inexpensive web building service. I think we've done 6 sites now for surveyors. You have access to our YouTube channel. Obviously, there's already good content on there. We've another dozen presentations that we filmed in Australia a few weeks back going on there. They should be in there in the next couple of weeks. And obviously, we're filming this conference as well. So there's a lot of content there now. You have access to the LinkedIn group, which is a really interesting forum and is being used by people. You have access to Twitter. Do tweet if you wish, if you feel so inclined. I won't object if you tweet. We'll be doing some tweeting today. CPD, continuing professional development, remains really important for us. If you don't bring your CPD points up to date, then rest assured Jan and the guys in head office will be chasing you. And of course, we provide opportunities such as this to meet around the world. Now, the education programme. There are changes afoot, big changes afoot. Some of you will know we run an HNC HND, which is provided through or is awarded externally through Pearson EdXL. Pearson EdXL are a well-known such organisation in the UK. Sadly, Pearson's decided that they would withdraw the support for customised courses, not just for us, but for small organisations like us who run a customised course. That's a bit brutal, really. And why did they do it? Because it's not commercially viable for them. I understand that. They want to work with Oxford University, Cambridge University, who have many, many thousands of students. You know, we deal in the hundreds, not in the thousands. So this news broke a couple of months ago. We then had to think about it. The Education Committee under John Noble came together. We talked about it at length. In the end, the committee was all of one mind very quickly. And we signed off, formally, the management board signed off our new proposal yesterday. News will be coming soon, but we will be launching two new professional qualifications, one specifically for small craft surveyors and one specifically for commercial ship surveyors. It'll be cheaper than the current HNC HND programme, although we're not dumbing down the content. It is widely accepted that the content we have right now is absolutely the best in the business. Wherever I go, whoever I present it to, people say, wow, this content is amazing. So we don't want to dumb down the content, but we will be making some changes. So some of the small craft stuff needs to be separated from the big ship stuff, and that's a bit of work that's going on. So watch for information. The next intake on the 11th of October will be the last intake on the HNC HND programme. Thereafter, we move on to the new one, which will be broadcast out to the world probably at the beginning of October. Briefly on the certifying authority, we are one of 12 Maritime and Coast Guard Agency approved CAs. If you don't know, vessels up to 24 metres in the UK must be coded by law if they're used commercially. We have about 50 CA examiners who, of course, are all IIMS members, and we have scrutineers, which is made up of the committee. So any work that a CA examiner does is scrutineered before being signed off. Examiners are also approved into which categories they can operate. So they might want to do wooden hulls, they might want to do steel, they might want to do heel tests, whatever. They can apply for all or as few as they want. They must go through a process of interview with one of the committee members. So we're quite fussy about who we let into the CA, and it's important that we do. It's an important piece of work for us. We are audited annually by the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, not our favourite time, and our next audit is the 8th of October, and they are quite ruthless in the way they come through and just want to go through the paperwork, and we just have to jump as high as they wish us to jump, which we do, of course. So that's coming up soon. And we do run twice yearly special certifying authority training days. We need to do that. It's part of our procedures manual that we do that, and the next one comes up on the 7th of October. No, the 6th of October. Oh, I forget. It's the second Tuesday in October anyway. Briefly on the Marine Surveying Academy, I'm coming back to do a very short presentation. It'll be 10 to 15 minutes only at the end of the day to talk about the Marine Surveying Academy in more detail. But that's the logo. It is the commercial training arm and wholly owned subsidiary of IIMS. I will fill you in on that later. Hilary, you might want to just stand up and wave. Hilary is the business manager who's been with us now since the start of the year. So I'll tell you much more about the MSA later. Briefly on networking opportunities, there's a face some of you might know. That's Captain Peter Lambert out in Australia. And that photo was taken when he was actually held the audience in the palm of his hand talking about compass adjusting. It was just the most, I never thought I'd find something quite so riveting, but actually for an hour and a half he held the audience talking about compass adjusting. That was back in June. Milind, Regional Director of India, you had a fantastic Indian conference at the end of last year. That was really well supported. Our small craft working group have been extremely active in the UK and also in the Western Mediterranean in Palma. John Excel's been over there. I've been over to Palma. We ran a good day back in March. We have a super training day coming on Monday the 5th of October. Have I got my dates right? Is it 5th of October, John? I think it's the 5th, isn't it? Thank you. When we've got 7 presentations, quite practical, not quite like in this sort of format, much more hands-on. Let's get talking about plumbing and gas installations and those sort of things. So that's for our small craft members. I've mentioned the Certifying Authority training days. James Wren, you're here somewhere too. Great to meet you. I can't see you readily, but you're in the audience somewhere. There you are. James ran a conference in Baltimore with a good number of delegates. I think he had 30 plus delegates earlier this year. The Adelaide Technical Workshop in June this year attracted 60 people. It was wonderful, and it's really re-engaged actually, the Australian branch. They'd gone a bit lame, I suppose is the right answer. But they've got new blood there now, new committee, and totally energised, and it was a fantastic 2-day conference. I spent some time with the Association of Marine Surveyors of British Columbia earlier this year. We've been talking to them for a year. They wish to amalgamate their organisation into the IIMS. So in other words, they wanted their members to become part of what we do. We formally made that relationship back in July in Vancouver, and the process of transfer has just begun. We've started that in the last 10 days. I'm pleased to say that we've had 12 AMSBC members who already wish to transfer in. They have about 32 members. I'd be surprised if the vast majority don't wish to join. So we now have a formal branch in Canada, and we look forward to welcoming 25, 30 new members in. London Conference here today. And Zaria, I must plug your conference, which is happening on the 24th and 25th of November out in Dubai. So if you get the chance to go to that, Zaria would love to see you there. I'm very excited about this next project. These are my new babies. There you are. Don't they look good? Okay, we moved into publishing. This was just a bit of a crazy notion I had at the end of last year, in a way. I challenged just before Christmas 1 or 2 of our more senior, experienced member surveyors and asked them if they'd like to produce a book. And the upshot was I was offered 30 manuscripts, which is quite extraordinary. So there will be a series of 30 books coming from us, which I'm really excited about. We've got small craft, metal hulls and ultrasonics. These are available out there if you want to go and have a look. Test them, feel them, buy one, whatever, don't mind. Imaging techniques, which Milind has written, which is fantastic. and the one I mentioned were earlier, working in enclosed spaces, which has been written by the best guys in the business. There's a couple of cover examples here. It'll cover off small craft subjects. It'll cover off commercial shipping subjects. 11 are now in production, and as I say, we've been offered 30, so it's just a case of really, this is a rolling publishing program that's going to happen over the next year, 18 months. Watch this space. We'll notify you as they come out. In fact, report writing might be the next one. Available in paperback. There you are, very old-fashioned, but a lot of people actually like paperback, still a market for paperback. But they're coming as an ebook through the website. You'll be able to download them as an ebook, and they're going to be available through Kindle. So that's coming very soon. I've tried to price them at a sensible price. There are some great books on marine surveying, but they are way too expensive. It's quite common for books to be £100, £150 in the UK. Most surveyors say to me, it's far too much. We've tried to keep these books around the £25, £20, £30 mark. Won't be any more expensive than that. Tried to make them affordable by the majority and not the minority. I'm not going to, that's a busy slide, but you can see these are some of the titles. Let me pick out a couple. Plumbing and pumps, salvage-related surveys, hatch covers, dredging technology, that's quite niche. We've got one on dynamic positioning. So these are all coming in due course. Let me move on. Briefly onto the website. Those of you who came to the Southampton conference last year will remember I gave you a bit of a weird and wonderful tour of the back end of the new website, which was interesting. It was just a test site then. It was a bit of a building site. We've moved on. We launched in October last year, and we are now averaging about 10,000 unique visitors a month, which for an organisation that has 1,000 members is an extraordinarily high amount of traffic coming through the site. The old website used to attract between 4,000 and 5,000 visitors a month, so we've doubled our traffic. The most viewed pages might not surprise you, actually. A lot of people come through the homepage. Education actually is a really popular page, people looking at that, and the videos. Video content is incredibly popular. And what's interesting, of course, is that for people who can't come to this conference, for whatever reason, they will be able to watch it on video 2 months down the line, 6 weeks, whatever it takes to Richard to do his work. I have underpinned the site with a really strong news engine. There's news content going up most days, some of it relevant, some of it maybe not relevant to you. There are over 350 news stories on there. And there's lots of feature articles as well. Some of the stuff that's published in the Report magazine, we republish on the website as well. There's a lot of content on there. Very recently, in the last 10 days, I felt the site had sufficient content now for us to put a search box on there. So if you want to go in and type in tonnage surveys, which somebody did the other day, you'll find all the articles relevant to tonnage surveys. So it's now even more user-friendly than it was. And the pages and content are extremely well optimized for Google. One of my strengths particularly is understanding how search engines work and operate. And pretty much now when you type in anything to do with marine surveying, you'll find IIMS will be 1, 2 or 3 in the search engines. So that's been a good bit of work to do.